Rev it up, Surly Talk Sports screaming in off the back fence off the back of a huge Warriors win. Iconic scenes, can't wait to dissect that one later in your NRL chat. She was a pretty tame weekend for me, to be fair. Decided to shoot up north, avoid any temptations here in Auckland, otherwise I'd end up getting on the steam. So headed up to Matapuri Bay, of course, where the old in-laws live. Great stuff that. The sun was out, managed to play some 9-hole golf. Won't tell you what I shot, fair to say I donated a fair few Pro V1s, but hey, golf was the winner on the day and grateful just to be out there. Speaking of grateful, shout out to the TAB. Always appreciate their work. Headline sponsor of the podcast, and this week, although the Warriors are done for the season, the STS code exclusive for podcast listeners, she lives on, and we've pivoted, we've jumped codes, we've gone across to the rugby union. So this week, if you place a bet on the All Blacks game, up to $50 after you've typed in the code STS50, the TAB will match your bet up to $50 in bonus cash. So make sure you chuck the code in STS50 before you punt on any options in that All Blacks vs South Africa game, and you get some bonus cash as a result. She's a bloody good promo. Really appreciate the TAB, and if you are having a punt this weekend, make sure you do it on the TAB app. There's power plays, boosted options, and just betting options in general galore. So if you're not already a customer, download their app, head along to their website www.tab.co.nz and sign yourself up. As always, gamble responsibly and stay tuned for later on in the pod where I'll run you through my best tips for the weekend. Shout out as well to the legends at Better Bear. Had a couple of those on the golf course. Nothing too crazy though, but fair to say, body's feeling like a temple this week, so I'll be cracking a couple open this weekend. Only 87 calories, 0 carbs. She's a grouse drop, so sink your teeth into some of those. Head along to your local bottle store. Comes in the cans or in the glass bottles, whatever is your drop of choice. You won't regret it. Always a day for it whenever Better Bear is in the mixer. But plenty of boxes to tick today. All Blacks vs South Africa, NPC, NRL, so much going on there. NFL gets underway tomorrow too. Bit of Premier League chat in the weekly wrap. Of course, the Q&A, everyone's favourite segment, that is back too. But without further ado, let's kick her off. How bloody good. NRL round 26 in the books now, just the one more week to go before we get into finals time. And of course, last week, the final game for the Warriors. Unfortunately, the nation's team done and dusted for the season now with the bye this week. So let's rip into the big results before we start to look ahead to the finals to see who's going to walk away with the premiership at the end of it all. Thursday night, Cowboys got the win, 38 points to 30 over the Melbourne Storm. But I think everyone can agree the real winners here from this game have to be the Storm. They threw up a second string side, made 11 changes to the starting lineup, and still almost got the job done on the road in Townsville. The Cowboys, their defense is so worrying. They leak like a sieve. Everyone, every week, 20 plus points their opposition just scores. They're happy to get into a shootout, clearly, because they do have a high octane offense, but I don't think you can go deep into finals with a defensive system like that. Their attack can be great. Dearden, Scotty Drinkwater, they can make something happen from nothing. They put on some silky plays too, but they have so many errors in them, and this second string Storm side made a real game for this. For the Storm, they flex their talent pool. Tyrone Wishart, he could fuck around and find himself in Origin next year. What a game he had. Shit, is he a heck of a utility player as well. Feels like you could chuck him in at half, you could chuck him in at hooker, outside backs, 14, and he's an absolute weapon. Good news on Pappenhausen too. Was really worried when he left the game in the first 15 minutes. I thought his season could be over. He's had a horrid runs of injuries, and if the Storm are going to go all the way, then they need him in their spine. Whenever they've had Munster, Hughes, Grant, and Pappy out on the paddock, they've looked almost unbeatable, but good results from the scans. It's just come back as a bit of bone bruising, and apparently he'll be good to lace them up for week 1 of finals. So great result there. In the meantime, saw Fa'alongo, he'll slot in there this week, as he did for the majority of last week, and he'll do a great job as well. That bloke, he's electric. The definition of slippery, the goosey god. His GPMs, or goosies per meter, were through the roof again in this game. There was that one play where he just whacked about 3 defenders, almost tricked himself to the point where he dropped the ball as well. So sometimes his razzle can be his own undoing. On Friday night, we We had the Dogs taking on the Gulls and what was tipped to be the game of the week, and it certainly lived up to a lot of the hype. Of course, we know the real game of the week was the Warriors versus the Sharks, but we'll touch on that shortly. She was a 35,000 plus crowd at Accor Stadium, the biggest turnout ever for a Friday night 6 p.m. Aussie kickoff slot, which is what you love to see. The Bulldogs fans, they can be a bit feral at time, but shit do they get around their team, especially when they're winning. They're pretty fair weather, but it is what it is. The Manly Gulls, they showed up and put on a clinic though. They're the first team to score more than 30 points against the Doggies this season, and when they're on, man, are they deadly. It's interesting to note too, they've actually beaten the Storm, the Panthers, and the Roosters this year, which heading into this weekend, that was your top three sides in the competition. But when you throw out the fact that they've also lost to the Tigers, the Bunnies, and the Eels, at their best, they're a genuine contender, especially if they can lock in a home finals game. At their worst, though, they can be bloody average too. And if they get it right, they can be bloody average too. But if they can get it right on their day, they're definitely a team to keep an eye on. They're just so inconsistent. You never know what Manly side you're going to get. For me, this win was built off the back of the platform that Manly pack laid. They dominated the Dogs through the middle. Hamole Olakawatu, Taniela Paseka, Nathan Brown, shit has he been a great pickup this year. Back fences, has a bit of dog in him, can be a bit of a grub at times too, but that's the type of player he is. He just walks that fine line. I thought Matty Lodge was great for them off the bench, and then Bullymore. All five of those blokes really did set the tone. The biggest talking point for me though was of course the injury of Tom Trbojevic. Chatters that he'll be back for week one of finals, AC joint, so clearly he's just going to take a trip to Cortisone City, get needled up within an inch of his life and get back out there. So that is a massive relief for Manly fans. If that is the case, they need him to go up against the big dogs in this comp, and just as I said, he was starting to look almost back to full health. Unfortunately, he picks up an injury, which was tough to see for the Doggies. Not their best night defensively. That was probably their worst performance of the year. And then that forward pack, the biggest concerns around them all year had been how undersized they were. And over the last few months, it looked like it wasn't going to matter because they play that high octane level, fast feet, ball play through the middle. But when Manly rolled up their sleeves and just took it to them physically, they really did struggle. And if you're going to beat the Panthers, the Storm, teams like that with big middle forwards, then maybe the Bulldogs are going to have a little trouble there. They did lose Matt Burton to an HIA, and that's always tough to recover from when you lose your star playmaker. They'll be disappointed with that shift, though, in front of a big crowd. They get Crichton back this week, and they'll be looking to bounce back for sure in a massive matchup up against the Cowboys. Super Saturday, Eels 44, Dragons 40, 84 points in 80 minutes, and what a roller coaster of a game this one was. The Dragons, they showed up late, scored 28 points in the last 10 minutes, but just left that run way too late. They ruined their season as well. They literally had it all on the line to play for. To dish up a performance like this with your finals hopes within touching distance, Flano, he would have been fuming, no doubt, with that one. Shout out to Connor Milheisen, though, the hooker. Hopefully I said his last name wrong. 63 tackles for 2 misses. Not sure if that was his debut. It's not someone I've ever seen on the team sheets, though. A weapon. 63 tackles. That's some crazy shit. I tell you a coach that won't be fuming. Wayne Bennett, the old dog, up against his old side, and he pulled off his super coach special. 40 points to 6, the Dolphins pumped the Broncos to get the dub and claim Suncorp Stadium as Finns territory. There was a shit ton of standouts for me in this one. Love that late move to put Trey Fuller at the back, move the hammer to the centres. I thought both of those guys played really well, and the biggest standout for me was the job that the hammer did on Katoni Staggs defensively. He made 18 tackles for 0 misses. That is a great shift against one of the great attacking threats in the comp. The standout player for me, though, had to be the opposite centre and Herbie Farnworth. He was almost the best player across the comp this week. Sean Johnson aside, 2 tries, 2 try assists, 287 run meters, 95 post-contact meters, 3 line breaks, 7 tackle breaks, 16 tackles, and 0 missed. That is a massive innings from the herbivore. For the Broncos, Really disappointing result for them. Season on the line and they shat the bed at home, got dominated from the onset and never looked like winning this game in what was a do or die clash. The Finns, they move into 8th now in the box seat. It sets up a massive game this weekend up against the Knights. Winner goes through. Wayne will be licking his lips. This is the type of clashes he lives for, and shit did he look like he enjoyed that win up against his former side in the Broncos. He was smiling ear to ear in the press conference, and deservedly so too, because he certainly cooked up that result, and no doubt that one felt a whole lot more satisfying than your standard NRL win. Then on to the game of the week, the final game on your Super Saturday, primetime slot, no one giving us a chance, the TAB dishing us up $5 head-to-head odds, which we're grateful for because of course we snapped that up. Sharkies, a top 4 side on a 4-game win streak, the Warriors on a 4-game losing streak. The rhetoric all throughout the Aussie media was that the Sharks were going to hump us, but guess what? No one told the People's Team, the mighty One New Zealand Warriors. Again, back-to-back years, we go over to Cronulla, the scene of that famous comeback win last year, and give SJ, Adam and Jazz the fairy tale finish that all three of them deserve. How bloody good was this one? And the game got off to the perfect start, a Prince of Penrose special. SJ, show and go, put a couple Sharkies lads on skates, broke the line with a beautiful dummy. That was vintage Sean Johnson stuff. And then found his old mate, his halves partner and Lukey Metcalf on his inside, backing up like all good sixes do to dot down for the first meaty. It was a beautiful try this, and it had me thinking, what could have been if Luke Metcalf and Sean were in the halves all year round. I think that was the combo we needed. Between them, experience, X-factor, razzle, elite playmaking, strong kicking game, and they just play others into space. Lukey Met in particular, whenever he gets his hands on the ball, you just don't quite know what's going to happen. Your bum moves to the edge of your seat, and this year could have played out a whole lot different if those two were healthy, but hey, it is what it is. We then went through a period that we've done in the last couple games, a tough watch, that 25 to 38 minute mark against both the Dogs and the Sharks in back-to-back weeks. We've really struggled. We conceded 3 tries, almost identical to that Bulldogs game, to head into Oranges 22 points to 4 down, but this is where the game turned completely on its head. Clearly Webby and SJ, they had some inspirational speeches for the lads. We fired up, filled up on vitamin C, and we came out to win the second half, 26 points to 6. What a half it was too. Huge moment there where Kale Iro got binned, and I did feel a little bit sorry for him because I didn't think it was that bad of a shot, but if the refs are going to be consistent, then that is a sin binning, and shout out to the refs and the bunker as well, who actually gave us a bit of the rub of the green for once. Clearly the message went out from the NRL after that shit show against the Bulldogs, and maybe the attention it got in the Aussie media really did help us too, because I thought we finally got a few of those 50-50 calls go our way. We fucking deserve it though. It's been another year of getting robbed by the referees, but Iro, he got marched for that shot on Dell, and from there, we just had a field day on that right-hand side. SJ just picked them apart, and we scored some great meaties in the process. Only right, the Prince of Penrose, final game before he retires, that he is the better bear, best performance of the week as well. His swan song shift, and he certainly earned it here, finishing with 176 run meters, 2 line breaks, a line break assist, and 3 try assists. Some beautiful option taking and ball playing on those 3 try assists as well, including a couple nice early kicks there, one of which resulted in a try for Dallin. Then that last pass, holy shit, and it was only fitting he throws one last cut-up ball to put Dell over in the corner. You literally couldn't script it any better. Right on the hooter, quick play the ball from Barney, a set play from Walks to give it to him early on a shift. SJ identifies the opportunity, sends the Steadin exactly where it needed to be. The flying mullet dots down for a meaty. I was absolutely losing my shit watching this, and it's fair to say the whole NRL community was too. Social media erupted. Someone was cutting onions in my house. She was crazy scenes. In terms of your other standouts, there were several for me. I thought our back 5 were all outstanding, so let's dive into them first. Tane Tuopiki, absolute gun. His speed, his acceleration, his ball playing is so handy out the back. His presence, it paints a different picture out the back of shape for us. That smaller body, which just makes defenders have to readjust a little. He's so agile, he's hard to shut down. He's almost of that Keanu Kenny and Reece Walsh type of mold. Has a strong kicking game and a work ethic too, and I love the energy he brings as well. Even when we were down, but we scored that first try, his energy levels was through the roof. He was celebrating like we'd just won the game, and you need a bit of that, a bit of confidence just to lift the lads up. He finished on 204 run meters with 61 post contact. For a lad with such a small frame, that's extremely impressive. 2 line break assists, 2 try assists, 5 tackle breaks. That's a great knock from the young lad to cop off a massive week for him. Mentioned last week he got married early in the week, to then have your honeymoon up against the Sharks into a Mad Monday. That is great stuff from Tane. Chance, I thought he looked great at centre. He's a quality player, so wherever you chuck him, you just know he's going to go well. He played great in that 6th game against the Panthers too, but I like what he offered here on both attack and defence in the 3 jersey. Only 120 run meters, which is down a little on what he normally punches out, but of course fullbacks, they're expected to take more of those yardage carries. And saying that, I thought he had some great yardage carries. He also had 6 tackle breaks, 15 tackles, and just the 1 miss, and I really liked his communication defending out wide. As a fullback, he's so used to talking a lot, setting the defensive line in the centres. You can hear him just chirping as well. He's cool, he's calm under pressure, comes with experience, but also his level of chat is elite, and I really think he helped Dell out on that edge as well. Overall, a really good performance from him, and one that I think will ask a lot of questions for next year's selections, but we'll touch on that shortly as well. Ali Lautoa over in the other centre spot. What a weapon. You guys know I've been on about this kid since day one, but now the world is starting to see the potential he has, and this performance was truly elite. 172 run meters from 14 carries, had a line break, 10 tackle breaks, including that highlight where he turned Nico Hines into a doormat, gave him the old Greg Inglis fend of doom, sat the poor man's Heath Ledger square on his arse. It was pleasing to see too. Plus, he had 10 tackles and no misses after he had a tough night out defensively in his last NRL game. I thought he was great in this one. He gives us that strike, that X factor, that player who can break the game open. I love those early shifts that we were running for him as well. Just give him early ball, one-on-one out of our own end, give him a chance to make something happen, and he did that on multiple occasions. It does ask a lot of questions around what Webby will look to do next year in that centre position as well, and the backline as a whole, because for me, I think having Tane at the back really helps unlock us. His ability to be a triple threat with his ball running, his ball playing, and his kicking game is a great asset for us, particularly with a halves combo without SJ. It might be Tamaire and Lukey Met, could be Lukey Met and Chanel, could be Chanel and Tamaire. I think having Tane out the back, just helping them out and easing some of the load would be great, and I would love to see him start in round 1 over in Vegas. Then in the centres, it gets really tough. We're spoilt for choice here, and all are quality options too, and obviously this is thinking way ahead with this chat. There's still a lot of water to go under the bridge before March next year, but with Ali, Rocco, old bootlace Berry, Adam Pompey, assuming that he gets re-signed as well, then you've got Chance in the mixer if you decide to put Tane at the back. For me there, you have 4 great options. Chance has to be in the 13, so unfortunately 2 out of those 3 lads would probably miss out. That right there is a bloody tough call. Then on the wings, I think DWZ is a lock. That performance on the weekend only confirmed that. I also think Roger will spend the majority of his time there next year if the backline is fully healthy as well. That right there is some outside back options. That's depth personified, and I can't wait to see what Webby comes up with. So much talent, and that's not even factoring in guys like Moala Graham Tolfa and young gun Motu Pasikala. Be keen to hear your guys' thoughts too. What's your ideal starting 5 for round 1 in Vegas next year? Fire them all through. Speaking of Dell, 3 tries in this game, brought up his 100th NRL try and also his 50th try for the Warriors as well. And these weren't exactly easy tries either. He's so known for being a great finisher. His work on yardage carries is elite as well. He's a workhorse, he's tough as shit, He carries so hard, and it was great to see him bag a hat-trick and also cross the chalk for the game winner too. He had a bit of work to do as well, had to step inside and beat a couple defenders. And man, that combo of SJ and Dallin, it's given us some iconic try-scoring moments over the last few years. And personally, I'm going to miss seeing the flying mullet on the end of some SJ specials. Then Marcelo Montoya, can't forget about him either. I thought he had his best game of the year too. Him and Dallin, they have to be the hardest ball-running wing duo in the comp. And speaking to him, he said they actually find each other in the sheds before the game, rev each other up and challenge each other to see who can back fence it the hardest. He was a weapon in this game, breaking tackles for fun, and I just love what Mars brings to this team. He's all-out culture, the lads love him too. Locker room, he's a massive asset, so hopefully, there were rumours that we might be looking to release him, but hopefully he's still in Warriors colours next year, and those were just incorrect rumours, which we so often see on social media. And the forwards, Adam Fanua-Blake, his last game, and he was fucking huge. 211 run meters in 61 minutes, with 111 of those being post-contact meters. And shout out to the Sharks too, who appeared to be taking the piss out of him when they scored on a couple occasions, chucking up his try celebration. Clearly, that awoke the beast, and man, did he make them pay. 111 PCMs. That is crazy stuff right there. In fact, his post-contact meter total was higher than 5 of the 6 Sharks starting forwards' total running meters, only beaten by Toby Rudolph and only by 3 meters, which is pretty bloody crazy. For me, he has to be Dalian Prop of the Year again, if not right up there. What a player he's been for our club, and man, are we going to miss him too. I thought Walks was good. Not sure if he'd had an extra scoop of pre-workout, pre-game, or what the go was there, because shit was he up for this one. Gave away a few dumb penalties at the start, and I thought he was really towing the line in terms of getting sent off from the ref, because he had plenty of advice for both him and for the Sharks players. At the same time though, you need a bit of that in your team, someone who's not going to take a backwards step, and it was great to see that from Walks, because we're losing a player with that in Jazz next year. So clearly the Ball Bash brothers, Walks, he'll hold it down for them. But I thought once he settled into the game, particularly in the second 40, let his ball playing do the talking, we got momentum and we started to really look good. I love what Tommy Ale dished up from the bench as well. And then I thought Jazz Tavanga had a great game. I think the last 2 weeks, ironically where he started as well, has been his best performances of the year. And man, is it sad to see him go. Add to that, one of the most pleasing things for me around this result in regards to our forward pack too was the fact that Mitch Barnett only played 36 minutes. He's been our best player this season. Surely he wins the Simon Mannering medal for player of the year. Must have picked up an injury of some sort, because after his first stint, he was out for a bloody long time. Clearly he got FOMO towards the end there, checked himself back in and wanted to finish the game off as a good skipper does. But this was a big performance without Mana Mitch. And what a win it was, really. Overall, just a perfect result, a comeback win to fill the fans with fizz for the start of the 2025 season. And what better way to kick off the comp as well than a trip to Vegas. You got James Fisher-Harris en route. So many young lads this year getting a taste of NRL footy who'll be hungry for more. The emergence of some young talents in Leka Halasima, Jacob Laban, Ali Lautoa, Dimitri Sifakula and co. There were still so many positives to take from what has overall been a pretty tough and frustrating year. One that I thought would play out a lot differently, but at the same time, incredibly proud of the way we finished her off. And shout out to Adam, Jazz, and SJ too. Love the way all 3 of them spoke post-game to the media, also passionate about our great club. And I thought Adam in particular had some lovely things to say, not only about the boys, but about Webby and the Warriors and his time at the club overall. Once a Warrior, always a Warrior, and I look forward to welcoming both AFB and Jazzy back to Mount Smart next year as the away team, and also seeing what SJ can do from a coaching and mentoring role for our halves across the club. Imagine being a 16-year-old lad, SJ's your halves mentor, the world becomes your oyster, and that becomes a massive recruitment and retention tool for us as well. If you got the Storm knocking on your door, but you got the opportunity to rub shoulders with SJ every week, I reckon a lot of them are going to take the chance to work with the Prince of Penrose, which can only be positive for our club. Super Sunday, Knights look good as they made light work of the Titans, 36 points to 14. KP finally bringing that try-scoring form that we've expected for him all year. I thought Dane Gagai was good as well. And shout out to hopefully future Warrior Leo Thompson. He's the top of my wish list. Again, just rumours and speculation and me just wishfully thinking, but I'd love to see that happen. He played well too. Knights tied with the Finns on 8th now. What a game that is going to be on Sunday. And then last but certainly not least, we had the Raiders taking on the Chooks, and shit did they ruin their party. Not only getting the dub, but more importantly inflicting some massive damage on some rigs. And I reckon the Roosters' premiership hopes are done now. Sammy Walker, the Cheese, both gone with ACLs. Victor the Inflictor gone with a shoulder too. It was a tough blow for Robbo and the boys from Bondi. Walker in particular, a massive loss. You can deal with losing your 9 when you got someone like Connor Watson on the Remu, a New South Wales State of Origin rep. He just slots straight in. But losing Sammy Walker, their gun playmaker, the bloke that handed the keys to over the last couple months, that is a massive blow. Good to see though, they came out the other day and said that they're not going to change the contract offer they've dished up to him. Of course, he's off contract at the end of 2025. He was wanting to test the market and see what his value is. The Chooks that offered 1.8 million over 2 years, and I believe they were in a battle with the Broncos to keep him. Of course, the Broncos, that's where he played his junior football, but they didn't want him, so he ended up at the Chooks. Clearly that left a bad taste in his mouth, and I think now it'd be smart to sign that $1.8 million deal for 2 years. 22 years old, ACL injury. I know from experience, you neither quite walk or run the same. Take the money, son, and work hard on your rehab. Fingers crossed he can come back fully fit. For the Cheese, it's a tough one too. He activated his player option this year for next year, which was a smart move there. After that, he's free to go, and I reckon he could have a good chance to head back to New Zealand, especially after this injury, because I think he planned to use next season to play his way into another big money contract. The fact he won't be ready for at least 9 months probably robs him of that opportunity to do so. Could be a good buy for the Warriors in 2026 if his rehab goes well and if the Waiheke Wombat is keen to come home. I'd love to see Brandon Smith in a Warriors jersey. He's a character of our game. He's a proud Kiwi, and I reckon he'd fit in at the club bloody well too. So it's going to be tough for the Roosters now. In finals footy, you need your biggest players available and in form. Man, is the NRL a cruel game as well. You can look so good all year, ready to go on a big finals run, and then 2 to 3 injuries in the second to last game of the season, and basically it's see you later. Brutal scenes. On to this week we go. Round 27, the final round. No Warriors, so who gives a shit? But in all honesty, of course, we all still care. There's some great games to be had, and it's cool to see the competition come right down to the last weekend. So often in previous years, you've known the 8 weeks out. It's been a top-heavy competition, but this year, the ladder in that 6 to kind of 13 spot has been so compressed, and then the top 4, especially in that 3 to 6 slot, has been really close as well. Broncos versus Storm Thursday night. Normally this is a barnstormer, but the Broncos, they've been well off the mark. The most disappointing team in the competition for me this year. The TAB think the Storm will be way too strong as well. They're bringing everyone back. Broncos, $5.20 underdogs at home. That almost has to be the highest odds they've ever been paying at Suncorp in NRL history. For the Bronx, no Stags, no Haas, no Piakura, no Wilson, no Reece Walsh, no Ezra Mam. No luck, surely. For the Storm, Xavier Coates is back. First game in 10 weeks after a hamstring injury, so that's great for them. Of course, no Ryan Papenhuyzen, but Suafa'alongo slots in the 1 jersey. They bring back their other big dogs in Munster, Katoa and co. Melbourne 13 plus for me. I think they'll be too good. Friday night footy, the first of your double headers, 8 p.m. Spoon Bowl, baby. How good is this? And it's crack up to see the hype around this one as well. Tigers taking on the Eels, Campbelltown Stadium, and she's sold out. It's the hottest ticket in in town as two loser clubs scrap it out to see who is the shittest team in the competition. For the Tigers, they're trying to avoid a third straight spoon, coming in off a bye and a win against Manly the week before that. They'll be feeling confident as well. For the Eels, they haven't finished last since 2018. They've won 13 spoons in their history, and they'll be desperate not to add another one. It's crazy to think 2 years ago they were in the GF. They finished 10th last year. Now they're fighting for a spoon. They got a stacked roster. Yes, they've had injuries. Mitch Moses, a massive loss, but still, the caliber of the players they have, they shouldn't be in a wooden spoon battle in round 27. I'm actually really looking forward to this game. I'll be watching it for sure, and I'm going to be rooting for the Tigers 100%. Of course, the Kiwi connection there with Benji, first year as head coach. I really want him not to win the spoon. They got IPAP there. Then I also like guys like Lockie Galvin, old Galvin Klein, and Api Kodasau. Plus, more importantly, I got a couple mates that love the Eels, and they were giving it to me big time when they bet us a couple weeks back. So I'd love to see them cop the L, pick up the spoon, and I really do hope the Tigers smoke them. Roosters, Bunnies after. Normally this is a top of the table clash and one of the biggest rivalries in the game, but with the Roosters suffering those injuries and the Bunnies in 15th, this one certainly lacks the fizz of previous years. For the Roosters, Sandon Smith, he takes over at halfback, Connor Watson into the 9, and the Fahu White, of course, the Kiwi lad, comes in jersey 13. Joseph Suali'i, he's back on deck in the centres. Looking forward to seeing the debut of De La Salle Va'a as well off the Remu. That is one of the great rugby league names. I do wonder if he's named after the Auckland High School, De La Salle College, but hopefully he goes well. By all accounts, he's a weapon, so looking forward to seeing how he goes at first grade. Still such a stacked team, the Chooks. They lose Walker, they lose Smith, they lose Radley, but to roll out a 17 like this still, that's pretty crazy roster management. Either that or they're way over the salary cap and Uncle Nick has been up to his usual tricks. I'll leave that for you to decide. For the Rabbitohs, Jack Wyden out with a calf injury, and then Richie Kennard's higher. He's been recalled on the wing too. Roosters get the dub here for me. Super Saturday, Dragons vs Raiders, the so close but yet so far game. Both teams within a bee's dick of playing finals footy, but the winner of this one will probably miss out purely down to points differential and fall agonisingly close. For the Dragons, in all honesty, I think they've overachieved mostly this year, and many, including myself, tipped them to win the wooden spoon, but on reflection, the past 2 weeks have been a real kick in the dick for them. They were right in the saddle, locked in, looking good for that 8th spot, then they go back-to-back losses to the Sharks and to the Eels. That's a bloody disappointing finish, so they'll want to get the dub here to round out 2024 in a positive way. For the Raiders, they've had a great fortnight, the opposite to the Dragons. Bet the Panthers and now bet the Chooks, and you'd have to think if Fogarty was available to play more than 13 games this season, they probably would have played their way into the 8. There's still small hope both teams can make it. If the Knights and the Dolphins play out a draw on Saturday, they would both finish on 29 points, and the winner of this game would leapfrog them and go through, but surely that won't happen. If it does, has to be some match fixing involved, and an NRL investigation would unfold for sure. Dogs versus Cowboys, massive game for this in terms of the makeup of the finals. 5th versus 6th, both teams tied on 34 points. Winner will lock in a home finals game for week 1. The loser goes on the road and could potentially drop below Manly as well if they get the win. And a massive boost for the Dogs. Stephen Crichton, he's back. They missed him so much last week, his energy and his leadership. We all know how classy of a footballer he is too, and for me, him and Herbie, they've been the best centres in the game this year, so to have Critter back, that is massive. At the same time though, his return, it's almost offset by the loss of Matty Burton due to an HIA and Bronson Cherry as well. 2 lads that have been massive this year, so they're definitely not at full strength. For the Cowboys, pretty much the same team as last week. Toddy Payton, he's got no excuses here. They've actually won 6 of their last 8 games against the Dogs as well, but the Doggies have won 7 of their last games at a core stadium, so the stage is set for this one to be a real lip licker and a great chance for the Cowboys to show that they can be the real deal too, because for me, I just don't trust them enough at the moment to back them in as a contender despite having one of the best rosters in the comp on paper. I've got the Dogs 1 to 12, but we'll touch more on that in the punting section later. Panthers Titans, not a lot to cover here. Panthers get Scotty Sorensen back, which is great to see. He's a heck of a player, Kiwi lad, and I also think he's probably one of the most underrated best looking players in the comp as well. Got a great rig, so welcome back Scotty Sorensen, old Scotty 2 hottie. Super Sunday, 2 fucking great games. Round 27, it all comes down to these two. Manly vs Sharks, 4 p.m. footy at Brookvale, a ground where Manly have won 8 of their last 9 games this year, and this one has big finals ramifications too. Manly win, they secure a home final in week 1. Cronulla win, and they could finish as high as second if other results go their way. For Manly, no Tommy Turbo, he's out of course. Tolu Kola, he gets the nod at fullback. Jason Sabi's out with an ankle injury too, but they still have plenty of talent and points in that back line with Garrick, Hopewade, Tommy Talau, DCE, and Luke Brooksy Brooks. Great to see Brooksy set to play finals footy too. What a switch from him. For the Sharkies, Jesse Ramian, aka the Ramen Noodle, and Ronaldo Mulatalo, they are both back. Tough scenes for Stammy Stone Street, who drops out of the 17. He scored 7 tries in his last 4 games, bagged a double in his last 3 straight too, and he's looked bloody quality. Must have been a tough call for Craig Fitzgibbon, but I guess when you have a talent like Ronaldo, you just have to chuck him straight back in. For me, the battle of the forward packs will go a long way to deciding who wins this game. If last week was a switch flicker for that Manly pack, then I think they get the job done here. You couple that with their insane home winning record, and they could just be too good. I also think Nico Hines still working his way back into full form, and his combination with Trindle, while it looked brilliant at times last week defensively, Nico really struggled, so I expect Manly to throw a lot of traffic his way. And then your final game of the round and the regular season, and write a better script than this. The winner of this gets themselves the 8th spot, and it just shows how close the comp has been this year. Newcastle bet the Finns earlier in the year, 18 points to 14. This one is going to be all go from the opening whistle. Tyson Frizzell, he's back on deck for the Knights, their co-captain, and a massive inclusion. Tyson gamble responsibly, he's also back too, he'll wear the 14 jersey. And then Kai Pearce-Paul, the man that Guru famously dubbed the English version of Sonny Bill Williams in the preseason. Fair to say that was a little bit overhyped. Still a quality footballer though, and we love Yaru, but he's listed on an extended bench. For the Finns, 2 massive ins for them. They also get their skipper back in Jesse Bromwich, and then 8% Cody's Nikarima. He comes back in the 17 jersey as well. Add to that Felice Kafusi, old Finn Diesel, the man with the crookest lid in the competition. He was able to downgrade his charge and avoid suspension. Must have really done the full suit and tie wine and dine number there, but I actually didn't think it was worth a suspension, so it's good to see they made the right call. This is literally a dream run of ins for Wayne Bennett and for the lads from Redcliffe, and I'm really keen to see how this one plays out. Both teams have a lot of points in them. The battle of the backlines is going to be huge. There's so many game breakers here. For the Knights to get up, I think their pack needs to lift. Man for man, I'll probably back the Finns middles to get the upper hand here. So Thompson, Saifidi, Frizzell and co are really going to need to lift. They won't be short of motivation though. Literally no next week, and they're at home. The place is going to be sold out, and their fans will be riding them, that's for sure. Personally, I'm backing the Finns here. I'd love to see them get the win and force their way into their first finals series. It's Wayne's last year. There's plenty of Kiwis lads in that side. It'll be a pretty cool story, and they're a team I enjoy watching. So Sunday, 6 p.m, she's Finns up for me. And then last but certainly not least, had to sneak some more Warriors chat for you to look forward to this weekend. Of course, New South Wales Cup side, they're in finals footy. Week 1 of finals for them. They finished in 4th. They take on the 5th place Panthers in Sydney. Would have been nice to have this game in New Zealand, but hey, it is what it is. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff, and you can watch this one on New South Wales Rugby League TV. Again, another would have been nice. Sky Sport, maybe you should have shown this one live, but it's set to be a massive matchup. Penrith, they've gone unbeaten in their last 7 matches, including a victory over the third place Raiders and a draw with the minor premiers, the old North Sydney Bears, a couple weeks back. This Warriors team, they are stacked. You got guys like Taine Tuopiki, Ali Leatoa, Tom Ale, Bunty Afoa, Jacob Laban, Leka Halasima, Moala Graham Tolfa, Ed Kossi, and that's just the starting side to name a few. But Penrith, they've seen what we've done and they've looked to try match it. Got plenty of first graders themselves. Casey McLean, Dane Laurie, both of them dropped out of the NRL team over recent weeks, so they will lace up. Tyrone Peachy, I think he's retiring at the end of this season, so this could be his last ever professional game of rugby league. You got Sonny Luke at halfback, Maverick Gaia also in the team, just to name a couple. In the 2 regular season games against the Panthers, we drew 22 all at North Harbour Stadium back in April, and then we bet them 22 points to 10 in Sydney 3 weeks later. Really keen for this one. I'll be watching for sure. Let's get behind the cup side. So much young talent in there, and it'll be sick to see the lads bring the comp home. So up the cup. Go get the dub. Long live the mighty Wars. And keen to see who comes away with those prestigious awards at the Warriors Awards night on the weekend. How bloody good is God's game rugby league? Onto the 15-man code, and of course the game on everyone's lips, All Blacks versus South Africa at Ellis Park. And for me, this one lived up to the hype with the drama of the haka with the ground DJ, the plane flying over the top. Personally, I thought it was pretty ironic timing, and it did stream a little bit of disrespect in there. I can understand the plane flying over and the timing around that, not so much the ground DJ and the other malake that went on, but this was a great game. I personally decided to wake up, not stay up. Saw a lot of you listening actually decided to go with the stay up method, and I really appreciated some photos coming through in the DMs of people watching this one at kick-ons. You gotta love that. But she was a high scoring clash, both sides playing some great rugby, and I thought the All Blacks really fronted and dominated this one for the first 65 minutes. The impact of the bench though, we just couldn't match the South African bomb squad, and in the end that ended up costing us the dub. In terms of the biggest talking points and my bullet points from watching this game, let's start with the refereeing. And I thought TJ's penalty at the start was a great indication of things to come officiating wise. That referee, he loved the sound of his voice way too much. And yes, TJ probably shouldn't be complaining, but at the same time it was valid. There was a South African player in the way. He rolled away and he moved the ball with his body. That 100% is a penalty. Could have resulted in 3 points and been a big deciding factor in the outcome of this game. Yes, TJ needs to focus more on just playing. So often we get quick ball and you could just hear him chirping there, playing up for penalties. I'd just love to see him move the seed, but I do think this call, the ref got it wrong. I don't think what TJ said was too offensive either. He pinged us, allowed South Africa to relieve pressure, and like I said just before, it was a sign of what could play out over the next 80 minutes. That Bongi Mbanami try, that was not a try in any way you look at it. And the most frustrating thing for me here is not that the ref missed this and made the wrong call, but more so the TMO. I can live with the ref making errors in real time, so much shit happening. He wasn't in the best position to see it all play out, so I can understand how he awarded a try live. But the TMO, they just have no excuse. For me, they interfere so much in rugby. The fact he didn't pipe up here when he had so much time to do so literally makes no sense. Maybe we need a captain's challenge in rugby, but then again, we're trying to speed the game up and that would slow it down. At this level though, a test, a win means so much, and you can't miss calls like this. I do wonder as well if off the back of the controversy of last year's Rugby World Cup final between these two sides, if the TMO just thought, fuck it, he saw how much heat his colleague copped last year and thought, I'm not going to chime in at all in this game because I don't need any of that. But this simply wasn't good enough. That was a knock-on every day of the week. Shouldn't have been a try. 7 points South Africa shouldn't have got, and that ended up being the difference between winning and losing. The last 15 minutes, that hurt us too. It wasn't all the refs' fault, that is for sure. Their bench was unreal. Ours didn't seem to have the desired impact to counteract that. They won the possession stats 67% to 33 in the last 10 minutes. We just gave them so many opportunities to make us pay. The execution of our exits was really bad. So often carrying the ball back into the 22, then putting it out on the full. Shit like that are rookie mistakes from world-class players, Bowden Barrett in particular. Couple that with a lack of discipline. We lost the penalty count 14-5. You just can't dish up that many point-scoring opportunities against a classy side like the Box. We also missed 28 tackles compared to their 17. So while the ref was pretty shit on occasions, we also have ourselves to blame too. Overall, I thought we were really good though. Our starting 15 in particular, I was gutted to lose that, but I certainly don't think it's the end of the world. And I saw enough positives to take from that one that lead me to believe we're going to be a good side over this next World Cup cycle. I still don't get some of the mindless kicking in our game. Lots of those little chip kicks and bombs where clearly the intent is to go up, challenge and try win the ball back, but we just weren't winning that aerial contest and we ended up just handing over cheap possession. At the same time, I do get it though because it works so well against Argentina. So many of our tries came from those chip kicks, so the bounce of the ball, it can be cruel. It's one of those things where if it goes your way, it looks amazing. If not, it looks bang average. Shout out to our forward pack. I thought they lifted massively. Our set piece was great. 100% on scrums, 93% on lineouts, up against a massive South African pack without Ethan de Groot as well. So a real hat tip there. In terms of your standout players, Cody Taylor, thought he was really good. Probably his best performance in a black jersey in a long time. I thought he struggled against Argentina and England at times, but in this game, he was really good. I thought Tupou Vaa'i must have gone close to man of the match, relished the physical confrontations, put on some massive shots, carried hard, and took care of the line out as well, which was great to see. I thought the Lucies were all huge. Blackadder, workhorse. Artie never backs down, so strong, work rate through the roof. And then I thought Sam Cane was massive too. The fact he can come in off the back of such a big layoff, just one hit out for Bay of Plenty in a preseason game, and then dish up a performance like this at international level with the start. He had a game-high 16 tackles, and I thought he was immense. In the backs, Geordie Barrett and Caleb Clark were the picks of the bunch for me. I thought Caleb, he's locked himself into that left wing spot now, which is pretty crazy to think. The start of the year, I didn't have him in any of my predicted All Black squads. He was great for the Blues. Now he's playing so well, Mark Talia can barely get on the paddock, which if you told me a year ago, I would have said you're off your head. And then Geordie, he was immense. Carried all night long. He had the second highest carry total in this game, just one behind Pieter-Steph du Toit, who was a fucking menace yet again for the Box. Scored a try. I just thought he was really solid in the 12 jersey. Puts his body on the line, that's for sure. For the Box, I thought the first five, Sasha Feinenberg, he was exceptional. Shit, is he a young superstar in the making. In fact, he's already a superstar and I love watching him play. And then I also thought Fessy was great out the back. Of course, copped the yellow card, but apart from that, every time he got the ball, he was electric. Those two wouldn't look out of place in the New Zealand competition, that's for sure, because they got that run first mindset, and they're a pleasure to watch. And then in the pack, Pieter-Steph du Toit, already mentioned him, but he's got to be one of the best forwards going around in world rugby. Chuck him at flanker, you can use his athleticism, his ball running in wide channels, plus he's a menace at the ruck. Chuck him at lock, you literally don't lose anything. He was bloody good. In terms of this week, interested to see how the Springboks play this one. Of course, they've pretty much wrapped up the Rugby Championship now, and Russie, he's shown throughout this tournament, he's not afraid to make wholesale changes either, so I do wonder if they make a couple there. There were rumours out of South African camp, guys like Khaleesi and that are struggling with injuries. I note Russie hasn't named his team either, which this time last week he had, so I do wonder if they're sweating on the fitness of a few players. Perhaps this one means a little bit more to the All Blacks than it does the Springboks, and I'm really keen to see what Razor does. 2 losses for him in the space of a month. That's almost unheard of. I think he only lost 14 or 15 games in his whole coaching tenure at the Crusaders. He's a bloody sore loser. There's no way he'll want to cop back-to-back L's. The lads, a lot of them, now they've had that first experience of South African Test rugby, and I tell you what, it doesn't get any tougher of an occasion than Ellis Park, packed, the place going off its head. Fuck are the South African fans good. good. That added another element to the spectacle for sure, but they've had that baptism of fire now, and I expect us to be better for the knock. I don't think there'll be a lot of changes. Lots of people calling for us to match that Springbok 6-2 split, but in all honesty, I reckon that's just falling right into their hands, and if we are going to beat them, I think we stick with that 5-3 split and look to run them off their feet with some razzle-dazzle late off the Remu. I think we see pretty much majority of the same 23. Lots of chat. Dalton is coming back in. He's recovered from that thumb injury, which has me thinking that was a little fishy. I reckon they just used the thumb as an excuse to drop him and give Kane the start, but I really did think we missed him last week. He'll be great for us off the bench if that is the way they go. I'm backing the All Blacks here to get the dub. I don't think we make the same mistakes twice, and I reckon we come away with a very big win to get us back on track and what would overall be a successful trip to South Africa. If you can split those games 50%, then you're happy days. Then we go on to pump the Wallabies, come back here, rest up before we head across on that Northern Hemisphere tour. Should be sunshine and rainbows, and I think Razor would be fairly happy with that as well. For your NPC footy, round 4, she started last week with an upset. The men from the south winning the Battle of the Lands, tipping up Northland after being down 26 points to 7 at half time. Northland, they'll be bloody disappointed to then lose 31-26 and blow a lead like that, conceding 24 unanswered points in the second half. That is a bit of a bed shit, but well done to Southland. They cooked my multi, but good to see them get the dub, and the fact they're sitting in the top 8 ahead of teams like Canterbury and Auckland at this stage of the competition, I certainly didn't expect that. Counties, speaking of didn't expect that, got the dub over Harbour in what was probably the upset of the weekend, their first win of the year, and it was no coincidence they picked it up in the game where Etene Nanaisa-Toro returned for the first time. Man, was he good. He has to be close to pushing himself into an All Blacks jersey, or the squad at least, at some stage. He's so versatile, great on the wing, showed on the weekend and in opportunities in Super Rugby that he's bloody good at fullback too. Has amazing footwork, arguably some of the best feet in New Zealand, and he's got a great boot, a left foot as well, which is pretty rare. He can play make, and he has that rare ability to just put himself around the ball whenever there's a half chance. He always ices it or puts someone else in a try-scoring position if he isn't going to score. He's a talented footballer. That battle he had with Sean Stevenson was elite. And this was a great game to watch. Unfortunately, Harbour's forwards just couldn't go with the Counties pack. And in the end, the lads from the Bombays got the dub. Taranaki, good win for them over Otago in a game that went down to the wire. Auckland lost another game to Waikato. 0-4, their worst start in 92 years. How bloody good. And shout out to Waikato as well for getting the win at good odds and saluting for many of our bets. Had the TAB account sitting pretty. Aaron Cruden, you are a wizard. The old boy can still play. Tasman, they remain undefeated, 34-15, a good win at home over Bay of Plenty. The game was actually delayed due to thunder and lightning. That is grassroots footy at its best. Tasman looking unreal. Shield Challenge this weekend. Shout out to friend of the show as well, ex-Northcote skipper Timmy Sale, who made his return to NPC footy last weekend after having surgery last year. Welcome back, horse. One of the great New Zealanders for sure. Wellington, they proved too good for Canterbury, even without their skipper Duplessis Karifi, winning 46 points to 21 in Christchurch. Got to say, the Lions might have the coolest team song going round as well. That's a hissing tune. And then Hawke's Bay finished the round with a win over the Turbos. It was their storm week, so it was their third game in 7 days, and you can tell they were a little fatigued. They're down 19-0 after 20 minutes. Got the Chockies, though, to still keep their perfect record alive. 5 from 5, although in saying that, their run home, bloody tough. Tasman this week for the Shield, Waikato away, Taranaki and Auckland both at home, which could be Shield defences as well, and then Wellington on the road to finish. That is pretty brutal. In terms of this week, tomorrow night, you got Bay of Plenty taking on the Turbos, Manawatu paying $8.50 head-to-head in that one. That is some crazy odds. Super Saturday, how good. Battle of the Bridge. The Heat invade the Garden of Eden. Can't wait for that one. Bums and seats match for sure. Always a game I circle on the calendar. A shame there'll probably only be about 500 odd fans at Eden Park for this one. Would love to see this be an annual fixture at a club ground every year just to give it that real grassroots feel. But this should be a doozy. Auckland, one of the most stacked sides on paper, but they've been all over the show. And for me, the most concerning thing is you watch them week to week and they look like a completely different team. One week, they want to throw it round and play some razzle. The next week, they just want to truck nut and play a forward-dominated game. They look like they don't have an identity at the moment, which is great for Harbour. Hopefully, we catch them that week where they don't quite hit their straps. For Harbour, the key here for me is their forward pack. Backline's been outstanding, so much strike and talent. Hall and Edmund, old Tane leading them around beautifully, conducting this team with precision. Then you got the attacking threats like Moses Leo, Sophie Maka, Cade Banks, Sean Stevenson out wide. But I think this forward pack, it's been a little bit disappointing so far. On paper, there's lots of talent there. They just haven't quite put the full performance together, and they've been dominated on the majority of occasions. So hopefully they can really lift this week. Won't be easy either up against a Kera Ioane. I saw Patrick Tuipulotu back at training, so maybe he's good to go too. Just our fucking luck. But if they can compete and at least get close to parity there with that Auckland pack, then I think Harbour can come away with this one for sure. Wellington Southland, well, he should win, but Southland won't roll over. Otago Canterbury, I smell blood here in the Sistema lunchbox. Good to see Otago paying juicy odds as well. I reckon they beat them and get the dub. This is a quality Golden O side. Saturday night, the final game of the night, second best game of the round two, sees Hawke's Bay host Tasman. Tasman looking to lift the shield for the first time. Hawke's Bay looking to retain it. The battle of two unbeaten teams, and for me, I think Tasman are on here. They're a stacked side. They've looked really good over the opening 4 games. In fact, they've scored 158 points in those 4 games, averaging 40 on attack and just under 16 on defense per knock. So that is elite stats right there. Hawke's Bay, they had a bit of a scare on the weekend, but no doubt all eyes for them were on the shield. That's their number one priority this year, is locking up the log of wood for another year. It was Storm Week as well, so that can be excused. This is going to be a great one, and if they defend it, the next challenge is, like I said, Taranaki and Auckland, so it hardly gets much easier, but beating Tasman and sending them packing would go a long way to locking her up for the summer. I've got Tasman for me in this one, but in a bloody tight one. Sunday, Taranaki host Waikato at home, backing the Naki there, and then Counties versus Northland to round us out. Interesting game this one. Before last weekend, I would have tipped Northland in, but I think Counties will be too strong and hand the Cody their 3rd loss on the trot. So another hissing weekend of rugby union. Can't wait to sink the teeth into it. Up the ABs and up the mighty Harbour Heat. Right, punting chat time now. Fire up your TAB apps. Green ticks on bet slips. As always, that is the goal. A couple juicy winners last week. Unfortunately, the Surly Boosty just fell short by a bee's dick. Hit Lukey Metcalf in the first 10 or so minutes. Thought we were well and truly on. Curdy Capewell, AFB. Unfortunately, neither of those two could cross the chalk, but of course, tipped out Warriors 1-12 at great money. Head to head as well. All Blacks on the line. Plenty of NPC bangs. So the kitty is sitting quite pretty, and we look to reinvest again this week. Tonight, Broncos, $5.20 underdogs at home against the Melbourne Storm, paying $1.17. The Broncos, they've lost 6 of their last 7 games at home, and they've also conceded 135 points in their last 4 games at Suncorp. Melbourne, they've won 15 of their last 16 games against the Broncos. Jerome Hughes, he scored 9 tries in 11 games against the Bronx, including dotting down when they played earlier on in the year in round 3. He's paying $2.85 anytime. Not bad for the old headgeared assassin. Grant Anderson, he's scored in his last 6 games he started on the wing. He's paying $1.58 here. Love me a bit of Grant action. Ali Katoa, he scored 3 tries in his last 2 games. He also scored 2 against the Broncos back in round 3 as well. $2.15 for him. Love him off a nice little Hughes short ball to dot down. And then for the Bronx, she's pretty slim pickings, to be fair, of course. No Katoni Staggs, no Reece Walsh, no Wham Bam Ezra Mam. 3 of our usual culprits there. Dean Mariner, he scored 11 tries in his last 14 games. Hardly overwhelming stat, but paying $2.80. He's probably your pick of the bunch for the boys from Brizzy. In terms of your same game multi for this one, and of course, as always, place a 3+ leg same game multi on your NRL action. If it misses by 1, you'll get your money back as bonus cash up to $50. Bloody good stuff. I like the Storm to get the win here, and I'm going to multi that up with Anderson and Hughes, both to dot down there, paying $5.66. There's also a boosted option in this game I like, and that's Hughes to score and Storm to win by 20 plus, paying $6.50 if you think they could pile on the points. And then I also like that power play. Any two of Hughes, Katoa, or Mariner to dot. Stats suggest all three are a chance, and I love those any twos just because you get a little bit of insurance there. That's paying $3, so not a bad shout for your full fizz Thursday. Then onto your Friday night footy. Spoon Bowl, baby. How good. Tigers at home, 220 underdogs. Parramatta on the road, $1.67 favourites. Tigers have scored 66 points in back-to-back wins at Campbelltown Stadium. Love them at home, and that's why I'm feeling pretty confident about them. The Eels have won 9 of their last 11 games against the Tigers, but the Tigers did beat them earlier in the year, 17 points to 16 in a tight one at CommBank. Eels winger Micah Suvall, he scored 19 tries in his past 12 NRL games and 4 tries in his last 2 as well since returning from injury. $1.38 anytime or $2.35 for 2 or more. I like both of those bets. King Gutho, he bagged a double last week, dotted down against the Tigers earlier in the year as well. $2.10, that's pretty juicy for him. That bloke won't be outworked. And then for the Tigers, I also quite like Fate Apa. He scored 3 tries in his last 4 games, paying $2.50 there. For this game, Tigers at Campbelltown, I'm so tempted to get on them at that $2.20. Fuck, do I want them to win this game? More so, I want to see Para win the spoon and Benji to not win it too. That would be great stuff. I'm going to play them on an alternative line though, just to be safe in my same game multi at +6.5. Then I'm going to go with Sivo and Gutho, both to dot down, paying $6.94. The boost for this game is Sivo anytime, Eels 1 to 12 at $5.25. If you think Para will get up after a couple nice wins over the last few weeks, then that's a good shout too, because I do think it'll be close, and surely Magic Micah scores himself a try. Following that, Bunnies vs Chooks, a game which used to be one of the great rivalries in the competition. Bunnies, they've shat the bed. Roosters, they're injured as fuck. Bunnies $4 home favourites, Roosters $1.25. The Rabbitohs, they've only won 2 of their 12 games this year against top 8 teams. Really have been flat track bullies, and they've struggled against the cream of the crop. The Roosters, they've won 4 of their last 5 games against the Rabbitohs. For your try scorers, Cody Walker, he scored 7 tries in 8 games against the Roosters at Accor Stadium. He's paying $3.70 here, and I quite like him. He's moved back to 6, which means he'll play more of that running role, hitting up that left side attack. I think they'll send a lot of attack their way rather than Dean Hawkins' side, so I'm going to get on board with old codes. The Bunnies, they're also scoring 43% of their tries down the right-hand side. Ty Munro, he bagged a double last week. He's your right winger. $1.88 anytime. I quite like him too. Then for the Roosters, Dommy Young, the old double XL Dommy, 4 tries in his last 3 games, scored against the Bunnies back in round 3 as well. He's paying $1.44 anytime, $2.60 for 2 or more. And then Teddy, he bagged a double against the Bunnies back in round 3. He's paying $1.78 anytime and $3.90 for 2 or more. For my same game multi in this one, I'm still going to back the boys from Bondi. Surely they'll be too good. Chooks into Dommy Young and Teddy at $3.17. That's not that juicy though, so there's a couple power plays that have also caught my attention. Any 3 of Dom Young, Joey Manu, Tedesco, or Ty Munro to score at $2.40. That's a great one to chuck into your multis. And then I also like the any 2 option of Cody Walker, Connor Watson, and Joseph Suali'i at $7.45. Not a bad shout there. Super Saturday triple header, Dragons taking on the Green Machine. Drags $1.70 favourites, Raiders $2.15. The Dragons have only won 2 of their last 9 games against the Raiders, but the Raiders haven't beaten the Dragons at Conqueror since 2004. That's 20 years if my quick math is correct. I sure hope so. My Westlake education surely taught me that. Zachy Lomax, he scored 4 tries in his last 4 games at Netstrata Jubilee this season and 3 tries in his last 4 games overall, paying $1.60. Matty Fangai, he scored 3 3 tries last week, paying $1.87. Not a bad shout for the milk. Xavier Savage scored 6 tries in his last 7 games and 3 in his last 2. Scoring meaties for fun this year. I love him at $1.80 for your same game multis. Raiders, I reckon they get the win here. Why not? Back-to-back big dubs. I reckon they make it 3 on the trot. Raiders, Lomax, Savage, $6.52. Doggies, Cowboys, a real lip licker. Can't wait for this one. Dogs, $1.75. Favourites to bounce back at home. Cowboys paying $2.10 on the road. The Bulldogs have won 7 of their last 8 games at Accor Stadium. Of course, that loss came last week to the Manly Gulls. The Cowboys have won 6 of their last 8 games against the Bulldogs, though, so historically they've had the upper hand. Interesting to note as well, Bulldogs have scored at least 22 points in 6 straight games, so that could be a nice little total point bet option there. Bulldogs 22 points or more, jump on that. For your try scorers, Valentine's Day Holmes, he scored 44 points in his last 2 games, including 4 tries. He's paying $2.35 anytime and $6.60. Don't forget your roots, my friend, for 2 or more. Obviously the Dogs don't leak that many points, but that's juicy stuff there for Val. Kyle Feltip, he scored 9 tries in his last 5 games. He's paying $1.77 anytime and $3.80 for 2 or more. Dogs, they're conceding 51% of their tries to left side attacks. That suggests Murray Talangi at $2.15 could be good value for the Bulldogs. Love me some Joshi Adokar. He scored 11 tries in 11 games against the Cows. He scored 7 tries in his last 6 games since returning from that hamstring injury. He's scored 1 in his last 3 straight as well. $1.67. She's hardly lucrative, pay off your mortgage type of stuff, but it's still a great leg to chuck on your multi. And then Jason Keras, he scored 3 tries in his last 3 games. Scored against the Cowboys back in round 20 as well. He's back at centre again, which does hurt his try scoring odds a little bit. $2.90 though. That's pretty good value for him. For my same game multi in this one, Doggies into the Felt Tip and the Fox. 2 flying wingers, double Fs as well. Love an alliteration bet. $5.50. Say Leslie Ray RC. Panthers, Titans. Panthers $1.11 favourites. Titans $6.80. The Panthers have won 9 of their last 10 against the lads from the Goldie. The Titans haven't won at Bluebet since 2016 when the Panthers were pretty shit. Sunia Taruva, he scored 8 tries in 9 games at home this season, paying $1.42. Some real value around the Titans winger here though. Jojo Fafita, he scored 7 tries in his last 4 games. The Panthers, they're conceding 55% of their tries to left side attacks, so I love him here at $2.40. Then milestone bet, and this is where I'll be chucking my money. Panthers prop James Fisher-Harris, Kiwis captain, future Warriors superstar. It's his 200th NRL game. He's scored in both his last 2 games, paying $4.10 to dot down here. It's his last regular season game as a Panther. He's going to be fired up. I love this. I'm going to jump on board him for sure. I'm going to have a single bet on that, plus a same game multi with Taruva, Jojo Fafita, and James Fisher-Harris all to cross. $16.44. That is great value. Sunday doubleheader, Manly $1.78, Sharkies $2.05. Manly, they've won 8 from 9 at home this season, but the Sharks, they've actually won their last 2 games. They've played at Brookvale. Manly, they've only won 2 from 5 without Tom Trbojevic this year as well. Sharks hooker Blake Brayley, he'll play his 100th straight NRL game, which is pretty wild to think the amount of work he gets through as a hooker. His brother for the Knights been injury ridden as fuck too, so clearly Blake got all the good ligaments in his genetics. Maybe he was pounding the fish oil, left none for his brother Jaden as they were growing up. Lehigh Hopewadi, 8 tries in his last 6 games. He's scored at least 1 in all 6 of those games too. $1.64 here. He's a must get on. Britain Nikora, he scored 3 tries in his last 4 games. Got held up last week just by a defensive masterclass there from Lukey Met. He's paying $3.30, which is good value for him. Ronaldo Mulatalo scored 5 tries in his last 3 games prior to injury. $1.77 for him is pretty good stuff. Manly, they're conceding 45% of their tries though to right side attacks, which suggests Sione Katoa, the Katoa, he's a great option option. Also in a bit of a drought, hasn't scored in his last 3 outings. $1.98 for him. For my same game multi, Manly at home, back them in. Lehigh to score, Mulatalo to score as well because he loves a meaty. $5.40, not bad value right there. Then your last game of the round, Knights Finns. Finals footy on the line, all or nothing. Winner advances, loser, they head into Mad Monday. Knights $1.72 favourites, Finns $2.15 outsiders. Some great value as well around some try scorers for the Dolphins. Jake Averillo, he scored 5 tries in his last 4 games, paying $3.10 here. That is great coin. And yes, he switched from the centres to 5'8", but he actually bagged himself a double last week at 5'8", so I love that. And he scored against the Knights back in round 8 as well. Speaking of doubles, the Hammer, he bagged one at centre last week. He's paying $1.95 anytime. Herbie Farnworth, he also bagged a double too. He's paying $2.55 anytime, which I think is some great value. Knights winger, Fletcher Sharp, the sharpest tool in the shed. He scored 8 tries in his last 4 games. Shit, can he find his way to a line? Latrell Mitchell Styles, he scored 3 last week against the Titans too. He's paying $1.68. Jump on board. The Dolphins, they've only won 2 of their 9 games played outside of Queensland. The Knights, they've won their final home game in the last 4 seasons straight as well. So a couple little niche stats for you there. I really want the Finns to win this game. I think it's going to be close though, so the safest play for me is to take them on an alternative line. That's a smarter bet, so I've teased it out to 6.5 because I do think she's going to be bees dick stuff. So it's from the same game multi, Finns plus 6.5, Averillo and Sharp, $8.16. Moving on to your rugby championship, of course, All Blacks taking on South Africa, back-to-back weeks on the road. Love this though. The boys will be bonded, loving the tour life and ready to right the wrongs from last week. All Blacks come in $2.35 underdogs. Yes, please. Springboks $1.55 favourites. So the odds have dropped a little compared to last week. And the TAB did tell me All Blacks opened at around 270. Straight away, some keen punter chucked $1,000 on the All Blacks on the nose, which I think is a pretty decent shout for your winning team and margins. Best backed is box 1 to 12 at $2.60. The 13 plus is paying $3.40. All Blacks 1 to 12 is also paying $3.40, and 13 plus is $6.50. Personally, like I said, I saw enough last week to suggest that we can beat them. I don't think we lose to the same team back-to-back. Also, wouldn't be surprised if the Box roll the changes. Normally, they've named their team by now as well, which I find a little interesting. They've pretty much wrapped up the Rugby Championship, so I think the All Blacks have more to play for. A line of plus 3.5, I'll take that for sure. Jumped on that line last week and she saluted, so it's only right that we run her back. I'm also going to jump on us 1 to 12 at $3.40. If we do get them, I think it'll be in that margin. For your try scorers, Caleb Clark, Cody Taylor, both dotted last week. I like them both again. Love me a bit of Ardy as well, and Will the Thrill Jordan. Didn't score last week. Surely he doesn't go back-to-back games where he doesn't dot down. For your NPC, 5 from 7 again. It's like I'm stuck on repeat, so I've now gone 15 of 21 for your NPC footy. The old Bunnings Far Cup has started to pay some lucrative bets. Tomorrow night, Bot Manawatu, I like Bay of Plenty 13 plus at $1.35. Super Saturday, Wellington versus Southland. Wellington $1.04 favourites, which is a little bit disrespectful to Southland. They're a decent side this year, but I still like Wellington 13 plus at $1.30, depending what they do on their lineup. If they decide to rest a shit ton of rigs, then have a look at that line for Southland. I think it's about 20 points in their favour, which to me is just too much. Auckland $1.40 favourites for the Battle of the Bridge. Harbour a juicy $2.80. The line is 6.5. I'm going to tease that out a little bit more in my multis just to still get some decent value, but make it a little more of a sure thing. But for a one-off bet, I'm going to roll the dice on Harbour 1 to 12 here at $4, as well as SoFi Maka as an anytime try scorer. Had a nice little same game multi, tipped her out last week. K-Bank, SoFi Maka, both to dot down. Those two, they're literally walking green ticks Blacks at the moment. The Harbour outside backs are running amok. Otago, $2.35 home underdogs against Canterbury after that Battle of the Bridge game. I love these odds for the Golden O. At home, at the Sistema lunchbox, I reckon they go the big lift in this one. They're paying $2.35 head-to-head, like I just said. 1 to 12, though, $3.60. That's some bloody good value, so I'll be jumping on board Otago. Shield Challenge, Hawke's Bay all day, $2.25 home underdogs as the holders. The challengers, Tasman, the mighty Mako, $1.60 favourites, and I'm on Tasman here. I reckon they get the win for sure. The Shield is heading south, so I'll jump on them at a decent price too. And odds not up yet for Sunday games, but I'll go Taranaki at home over Waikato with Kininaholo to dot down there, and then counties at home over Northland with Etene Nanai Satoro anytime for your try scorers. For your NPC multi, 4-legger here, missed by one, I'll get my money back as a bonus back. I'm going to go Bay of Plenty, Harbour plus 11.5, Otago and Tasman, $7.94. NFL, how good, tossing the old pigskin. She's back on our screens from tomorrow, Friday footy, and it's a heck of a game too. I will note there's some same game multi options available for your NFL as well. It's the same as your NRL and your All Blacks. 3+ leg, same gamer, you'll get your money back up to $50 as bonus cash if it misses by one for that game tomorrow. Ravens at home up against KC. Two big dogs going at it first up. I've teased the home side, the Ravens, out to a +6.5 line, and then I've gone with the two running backs to dot down, one from each team. Pacheco from KC and Derrick Henry in his debut for the Ravens. That's paying $6.22. Don't mind that at all. Then for your futures bets, there's a couple from the conferences that I'm pretty confident about that I think are a great shot to ride home throughout the course of the season. There's nothing better than a futures bet. You get to ride it out each week and feel the emotions, perhaps of teams that normally you're not that invested in. In the NFC West, I reckon the Niners win that at $1.50. NFC North, I reckon the Lions get that. Get up Detroit at $2.40. AFC West, KC, $1.40. They win that. And then AFC South, I love the Texans at $2.10, which is pretty good value. So if you multi that up, Niners, Lions, KC, and Texans all to win their conferences, $10.58. That's not bad. Then for your AFC champs overall, I've got KC at $4.25. NFC champs, I've got the Lions at $4.50. Multi those two up and you'll get $27.62. Then I've also done a week one multi, a nice little 5-legger, and under the American Sports Mega Multi Buster promo. Fuck, there's promos out the door at the moment. Don't say the TAB don't do nothing for you. If you place a 4+ leg multi on your American Sports, you miss by 1 leg, you'll get your money back in bonus cash as well. I've gone a 5-legger here for week one, 5 games that I think have a great shot of coming in. I've got the Texans to beat the Colts. I've got the Dolphins at home to beat the Jags. The Bengals, they pump the Patriots. The Lions, they beat the Rams. And the Chargers, they beat the Raiders. NFL, it can be turbulent at the best of times, so I'm a little bit nervous having 5 games in a multi, but hey, we'll see how she goes. Misses by 1, and it was basically a free swing, but that multi there paying $7.38, so fingers crossed that comes through. For your bet of the week, 17 from 24 on these now. Hit last week with the All Blacks plus 7.5, so this week, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. All Blacks plus 6.5 into Tasman over Hawke's Bay. A nice little rugby multi there paying $2.32. Then for your Magic multi, ABs 1 to 12, Doggies head to head, Manly head to head, Harbour plus 11.5, $15.35. That hits. Then the better bears are on me, you absolute beauty. As always, gamble responsibly. Use the Surly code STS50 for that All Blacks game. Try your luck. You never know. It could be your week to get some lucrative wins on the old Carmichael punt. Right, that's us for another week. Surly Talk Sports. As always, cheers for your ears. Hope you enjoyed it. If you're playing grassroots sport this weekend, go well. If you're just watching from the comfort of the couch, like myself, then hope you have a bloody good one. Up the ABs, up the mighty Harbour Heat, up the New South Wales Cup, and get up the Cleveland Browns. Catch you back here, same time, same place, next Thursday. Hopefully, I'll be in my new studio too, the old Surly Studios. Stay tuned for that. I'll have some social content coming up, but shout out to Ortex and Nomad Ticker for hooking your boy up. Again, more context around that in next week's pod. But catch you then. Go well. How bloody good.